Well, hello there. How are y'all today? I am Abby. This is Claire. This is Once More with Abby and Claire. How are you today, my friend?
I am very well, and I hope you're well.
I am well. Thank you. Thank you. We're doing it a little
Excellent.
early today so I can go
We are.
bowling and be terrible. But so this week we begin season 3. We are moving right along. We're going to
We are.
cover the first episode, which is called Anne.
Yes.
And this is this is a good episode. So as we all remember, last week we left off where Buffy was forced to kill Angel, but the spell to restore his soul worked right before that happened.
Yeah.
So
The second before.
she knew
But
he
she had
was
to
the
close that
love,
portal.
but she had no choice. So Buffy then sort of finds out she's expelled. She runs off. That's where we left off last week. So this week we open in the cemetery, right on a gravestone by the name of Andrew Holick,
Yeah.
1981 to 1998. Um, so we assume someone they went to high school with. Andrew then climbs out of his grave to meet with Willow, of all people. Um, she's, quippy. She does her little one-liners and come and get me, big boy. And
Yeah.
then
And the leg
Xander,
shot on the way up as well. You think, oh, Buffy's back.
yep,
Just for a
because it's the
second.
shoes and they're super cool. And then Xander grabs him, and then Oz tries to stake him, and it doesn't go well. Like they just all get knocked off,
It's a
and
bit of
then
a mess.
what's with the flips? And then he does the little gymnastic flips, and Xander's like, where do they all learn that? And it turns out, I guess he was on the gymnastics team, the
Yeah.
Sunnydale High gymnastics team. So he had some skills built in. Xander's mocking Willow with her, come and get me, big boy. And she's like, you don't know how hard it is to like work up a quip on the spot. Oz suggests this time it's personal. He's like, there's a reason it's a classic, um, and then they start sort of ruminating on what happened to Buffy. Do you think she's going to show up for school tomorrow? And they're like, well, she was expelled. And well, I know, but we just, don't you want to know where she is? And then we jump to a beautiful beach scene, and you can always tell a dream sequence in this show because it's got a very beautiful, almost
It's
like a
got like a
cotton
soft
quality.
glow, and it's always
Soft.
very highly lit. It's
Yes.
very bright, but with a
Yes, like you're
soft.
walking through cotton.
Yeah.
So it's a beach on a beautiful sunny day. Buffy, beautiful sundress, looking amazing. And then we see the hands come around her waist, and we look, and it's Angel. Lovely, loving embrace. He says, I'll never leave. And then, not even if you kill me. And then she wakes up. So we see she's in a ratty city apartment. She's all alone. Police sirens. We open the next day at the diner, and we see that she is a waitress named Anne. That's where the name
Yeah.
comes from, which we find out is Buffy's middle name.
Yeah.
But the disgusting clientele, which make me
Oh,
twitch.
it's just hateful, isn't it?
And the one guy slaps her in the ass, and you see that moment where she's like, I could fucking rip your arm out of the socket, but USA.
She was good. I'll give her that. I took his face clean off.
Better than I was. Yeah, no
Same.
joke. I actually had to do that once in my life for a job where there was, let's just say, connected people that would come to this particular restaurant.
Yes.
And you were told you had to let them do whatever they wanted.
However they wanted to be.
And I would not let my ass get pinched.
No, I wouldn't have either.
So she realizes she can't break his arm. So that's, then she sees a couple at the next table, and they're just like, get a room already, all over each other. But like that disgusting puppy love, you know what I mean? Where you're just like, oh, young love. They haven't gotten over each other yet.
Yeah.
She says something like, what are you having? And he says, what can I get for this? And like dumps out a pocket full of change on the table. And she's like, can we get cake? And he's like, don't be stupid, which annoyed me. But, you got to eat healthy. Let's get pie. And I just kind of love that. Buffy says, we got a peach pie, but I can't guarantee there's any peach in it or, actual pie. But
Yeah.
so they show Buffy that I'm sorry, I'm putting my fan on because it's warm in here. They had gotten matching tattoos. Like basically she's like, we shouldn't have spent our money on this. And, cute moment, the matching tattoos, each one had half a heart on their arm with the other's name written. And that is something I never recommend. However, Richie and Lily.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of big statement tattoos, they come after years and years
Get
if
a
you're going to do that.
tattoo that reminds you of somebody. Don't get someone's name tattooed on you unless it's your child or a parent or more. But
I do think that maybe if you've been together, not in that situation, if you've been together a million years.
Yeah,
possibly.
like I could see you and Rich doing that. That wouldn't
I have
bother
got
me at all.
Rich's name written
Well,
above
see, that
the
wouldn't
ship
bother
on
me
my
at all
leg.
because there's
But
no
to be
cheating.
fair, if he fucks it up, it's coverable with anything.
There you go. There you go. But you guys are at different situations. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
in that situation, it's like, what a stupid thing to do.
We hop back to Giles basically telling Willow in his Giles way that, he appreciates her patrolling that she's doing while Buffy's away. But like she doesn't have to do this because he says, if anything were to happen to you or if you were to get killed, I would take it somewhat amiss, which is he's so British. I love him. She says, you'd be cranky? And he's like entirely cranky. First of all, I would like to point out Willow looks amazing. The difference in her from the end of season 2 to the beginning of season 3.
I literally pointed out so much of how different it looks from season 2 in complete this episode. Like every single kind of technical color grade, the way that they all present, the crispness, it's completely different.
They grew up. She got her own style. Her confidence has just the huge boost. So it has really nothing to do with how she looks, more of her internal light that is shining very brightly through her. Cordelia had a crappy summer at the resort because, they wanted you to do stuff. And she's all nervous and being goofy about seeing Xander again. And, how's my hair? How's my hair? And it turns out, this makes me laugh, Oz shows up and Willow's like, what are you doing here? Did you bring me books? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, weird thing, but turns out, like, remember how I didn't graduate? And she's like, yeah, but summer school. He's like, yeah, remember when I didn't go to summer school? So he's repeating this year, which it's a cute interaction because she's like, it's bordering on creepy. And he's like, cute? And she's like, meh. Kind of cute. I mean, yeah, kind of cute because he's a genius. He's like borderline brilliant.
He's a genius. If we go back to the Halloween episode where they both recruit, the one before where they're both recruited by some Men in Black organization on career day.
Right, exactly. That they've got the smarts there. Xander doing the same thing Cordelia is doing. They haven't seen each other all summer, so like they're freaking out, and
it's kind of sickly cute.
It's sickly cute. And then they meet up and then they're both so awkward that they're like, fine, see you later. And then they just we go back to Buffy again, sitting alone in a room, walking down the street alone. We do see a man hunched over talking to a homeless person. She sees another homeless person saying, I'm no one. I'm no one. Yeah. You get the idea that this area is not a great part of town, that this is where people drift in and out. Giles, I forget where, I didn't even write it down. Like he gets a tip from wherever.
Yeah, I can't remember where he flew to, but he flew off on a tip.
Yeah, he literally took a plane to because there was a rumor or a tip of a girl killing a bunch of vampires, and he hopped on a plane. And Xander's like, what makes you think this is going to be different than the other 9 times? Yeah, and it was kind of sad, but he says you always get your hopes up, and then it's just a big fat raspberry, and I feel bad because that's totally Xander. Like he's getting a little self-centered Xander. Again, Buffy walking down the street, and somebody's behind her, the girl from the restaurant, calling Anne. Anne, and Buffy doesn't turn around. She goes, Buffy, and she stops. Um, we realize, and we realized this from the first time we saw her, that it's Chanterelle from
Yeah.
season 1, the one that wanted the
Vampire
vampires.
groupie.
Yeah, the vampire groupie, exactly. That's a great definition. Um, and she tells Buffy, look, I won't tell anybody who you are. You know, I get that you have to get away sometimes, and I know what it's like when you want to just
Yeah.
kind of get lost and do what you got to do. Um, so that's where we find out that Anne is Buffy's middle name, and Lily, the name was picked by Richie.
Yeah.
And Buffy says, well, what's your real name? And you could tell she just doesn't want to tell her because
Yeah,
she
say
can't.
it.
She says she's always changing every way. So she says Chanterelle was part of her exotic phase. And Buffy said, you know, it's a really nice, it's a mushroom. And she's like,
Yeah.
it is? I'm so embarrassed. And she's like, well, it's a
Yes.
nice mushroom. It's an exotic mushroom, if that's any comfort to you. So that was kind of sweet. Then Lily awkwardly comes off with, do you have any money, which instantly shuts Buffy down. And she's like, I don't mean
Yeah.
it like that. She's like, but there's this rave I want to go to, and I'm completely broke, and I don't want to go alone. And Buffy's like, you know, I don't want to be around people. I can't right now. I need to be alone. I just want to be alone in a room. um and then this old man bumps into them, and Lily's just, that wasn't very polite. And the man turns around and he's very confused, and Buffy asks him,
Yeah.
like, are you okay? And he's just like, I'm no one. And so she follows him out, or she sees he's in the middle of the street and
Yeah.
he's about to get hit by a car. So obviously Buffy can't let that happen. So she dives and pushes him out of the way and gets hit by the car
By the
herself.
car.
And, you know, she's knocked down, and everybody gets out, and she's a
Yeah,
slave.
she's
So she
like,
gets back up again.
right back up.
And they're like, and she's like, I'm fine. And she just runs away.
Yeah.
And as she comes around the corner, she bumps into that dude that had been handing out the pamphlets. Um,
Ken.
yeah, Ken Carlos Jacot is his name.
Yes.
I recognize his face from other things as well. He played in an episode of Angel, and I actually had to look it up to make sure it wasn't the same demon. He was in an episode of Angel where
No,
Doyle's
you're right. It wasn't. It wasn't the same demon, was
he
it?
was not. No, he
I
was a
can see
different
the
name
scene
than
now,
that.
actually.
He was a completely different character.
I actually didn't know that, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I
You
didn't.
just said it.
I
I
remembered
can
his
see him
face
now.
because he's got the the John Boy mole, and I always remember his
Yeah.
face. He was also in an episode of Firefly, so that does tell you that Joss likes the same
Ah,
actors.
yeah.
So he gives her a flyer, and it's called Family Home, and it's like, you know, come home to family home. And he, you know, he basically says it looks like it would be good for your type. And she's like, what do you mean? Somebody that's had to grow up too fast.
Oh, it just screams cult.
It screams cult. And then, you know, he tells her that she doesn't have to be alone here. And then we go into a whole homeless montage. It's a whole song, which we'll let you get into later.
Yeah.
And we've got a musical interlude, and then we go back to the Bronze and Belly Love. And it's this sad song. You know, I liken it back to the Sarah McLachlan that we discussed last time, which this very melancholy, beautiful music. So Willow and Xander, first of all, I love the Bronze. They've got these tables, and they just have this like area where there's these like two long couches, and they're both just taking up this space like they always do. I love it because, again, they've grown so much.
Yeah, it's very different vibe.
You know, slang's just not the same without her. But Oz thinks they've got a good rhythm going. And Xander says, you know, like a good rhythm. He's like, well, you know, we may lose half of them, but we do it rhythmically. Because I love Oz. I love anytime he opens his
Oz
mouth,
is amazing.
And after the awkward Xander and Cordelia moment from earlier, we see Cordelia walk in the bar and the Bronze, and Xander's like, I know what we need. Bait. It's like so fucking rude. So we see Joyce for the first time since Buffy's leaving. She's paying bills. There's a knock at the door, and it's Giles. He was telling her, I don't really know why, but he was telling her that he had this lead that didn't pan out. To me, I think that's a little you know, I guess he just needed the connection and someone to talk to let her know that he's still working on it. But that his lead didn't pan out. Not only was there no Buffy, but there were no vampires, just a bunch of people like in a lot of makeup singing.
Yeah.
What did he say? Makeup existing to
Black
extremist
mascara,
music.
listening to radio something music or something.
Yeah, I love it. Giles tells her, you know, you mustn't blame yourself. And she, that was, I don't know what accent that was, but you mustn't blame yourself for Buffy leaving. And Joyce, man, when she cuts hard. She says, "Oh, I don't blame myself.
He's a dick.
I blame
It's
you."
awful.
And then that goes right through your gut because his face, it's like a oof.
Yeah, it's such a
you know,
dick
but
move.
she's not wrong. You know, she tells him he's been this huge influence on her and guiding her, and she feels like he's taken her away from, you know, you've taken my daughter from me, basically. Your relationship that you have should have been my relationship with her.
Yeah.
And that was a tough scene. It was a very
it was difficult,
emotional scene. And since you and I both know there's something coming up soon with Ripper and Joyce that is our favorite, that we'll get back to it.
And it's very soon.
But
I'm
that's excited for you, my love. So we're back to Lily. She shows up at the diner. She's in a bit of a panic, you know. Ricky's gone. He didn't come home. He's never been gone this long. She thinks something's happened to him. She wants Buffy to help her, but Buffy doesn't want to. She has to work and she doesn't know what to do. And she's crying, and Buffy's still a sucker at the end of the day. So
yeah,
you know,
doesn't change.
She doesn't change. Yeah. So they're at the hospital or the clinic where they go to give blood. Sometimes they go to check out a lot of the places that they usually go. And he wasn't there. And the woman the doctor checks the log. No, he hasn't been in all day. Okay. So for whatever reason, Buffy says, let's split up, because I always hate when people do that. But let's split up so that we can cover more ground, and then we'll meet back. Who's that?
Clint says Joyce emotionally cuts a bitch. He's not wrong.
Dude, you're right, man. When she gets you,
when she cuts, she cuts.
Yeah, she doesn't cut often, but when she does.
When she does, it's terrifying.
So they split up to go search the haunts. Buffy is in like literally a crack den that you see in like, I've never personally been in a crack den, but this is exactly what it would look like. You know, all the homeless people laying there and, you know, moaning. And then she comes across a man that drank drain cleaner to kill himself. And she goes to roll him over, and she sees the heart with the lily on his arm. But this man is old, and she's quite confused. So they agreed previously to meet back at Buffy's apartment, which somehow she was already inside of. I don't know how that happened unless I missed something.
No.
But
no, she was.
And yeah, I mean, I know but I don't know if like earlier she gave her a key or just let her in the house, but she's already in her house. And Lily, you know, these people know how to cut Buffy. I know Buffy seems to be a little self-involved at times, but she asks her, is this because of you?
Yeah. Poor Buffy.
You know, like you came to the monsters.
That statement kind of follows her, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's something that, you know, emotionally touches her, because it's something that she's always felt. Do I bring this darkness? But she kind of lashes out and says, you know, it's not about me. I didn't even want to help you. You came to me. Let's see. She asked if she brought anything with her, and she says, I just want to be left alone. Just leave me alone. So Lily runs out, and she's met by our friend Ken. You know, Ken with the posters, Mr. Cult Vibe himself. And he tells her, you know, he's like, are you okay? And she's shaken up and crying, and he tells her he can help her. She says, you know, but Ricky, and he's like, oh, are you Lily? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, Ricky's with us. And you know, for me, you're like, oh, fuck no. You know, Ricky's like, talking about you. You know, come with me. And she's like, oh, really? And he's like, no, come with me. So takes her to family home. And Buffy just like breaks into the clinic where they previously were to steal, because again, this is just like the school at night. Like nobody watches this stuff. To start like going through Ricky's file, and it's marked that he is a candidate, And then you see the doctor walk in, and Buffy is cool as a fucking cucumber. And she asks her, what's he a candidate for? And because you got a whole bunch of candidates here.
Yeah.
And I wonder if any of them are missing, like Ricky is missing. And you could see this doctor is choking on herself, but which is probably the only reason she let Buffy walk out the door instead of calling the police.
Yeah.
She tells Buffy, I only give them the names of the healthy ones. And she's like, who? But, she's not going to get an answer. We're back to Ken and Lily. They've got her dressed in this like white sack, thing, because you wouldn't want to wear your clothes to a cleansing. It'll get ruined. She says, is it like a baptism? And he said, well, something like that. And she's like, well, am I going to see Ricky? And he's like, oh yeah, he's already waiting for you. He's so excited. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, back at the cemetery, and Cordelia's like, I don't want to be bait. This is stupid. I'm always bait. And they're arguing, and you can see like Xander and her are arguing. Willow's off on the side waiting, and you see this vampire just walking up on her good old Andrew again. But we cut to the cleansing, and Ken tells her to kneel, and we let the water run over the sin and the pain and the uncertainty and all this other cult mumbo jumbo. And she's going like, this water looks pretty dirty.
I wouldn't be putting my hand in there.
Yeah, I don't think I want to be going in there. Buffy knocks on the door of family home, and she tries to like make up an excuse to get in. But I sin so much, and I'm done with the sin and the bad and like, the sex and the envy and that loud music our kids listen to nowadays. And then she's like, yeah, I suck it undercover. And she totally knocks him out. Well, first she says, where's Ken? And then kicks her way in. So it turns out the water is not dirty, but it's like a black goo.
Yeah.
Goes to touch it as Buffy busts into the room, and then the black goo sucks her in, and she disappears. And Buffy attacks Ken, and they both tumble into the black goo, and they disappear. And turns out it is a portal, and they land quite hard in another room. And Ken's like, ow, my face! And then he goes to get up, and he pulls off his human skin and hair, and he is a demon, for lack of a better term. Calls for the guards. It is very.
I actually love the demon face and the guard faces and everything.
It's very symbolic to like Nazi
soldiers. They're like stitched as well in a lot. I just love the design of them in this one. I will be honest, it's not one of my favorite episodes, but I like the creature design in this a lot.
The makeup is fantastic. And like I said, with the suits, with the guard suits, they give you this imperialistic. Like there's a level of fear that goes along with them, not just the face, but the face and the uniform is a very unsettling.
Definitely works very well. Yeah, it's nice creature work. This one.
Yeah. So we find out that all of the missing homeless are like working in these fire pits. Like I don't actually know what they're making, but they're slamming with.
I don't know what they're making either. I'm not sure.
It's a hell dimension. I mean,
it could be anything.
And he says, welcome to my world. I hope you like it. You're never leaving. Cut to commercial, whatever. But yeah, it's creepy. So Xander and Cordelia are still arguing like assholes when they hear Willow scream. They run over, and all three of them are like trying to desperately pull Andrew off and stake him, and like Xander's fighting him, and he's trying to get the stake in him, and Cordelia runs to help and like falls on top of both of them, and the stake goes through Andrew, and luckily not through Cordelia as well.
Yeah,
but that's a different story. And then poof, and now they're making out again. So I guess they made up
with the big epic music behind it as well.
With the big swell
several times for this
of epic music. We're back to Lily. She says, I think we're in hell. And Buffy's like, I don't know. And she's like, it doesn't matter. This is hell. I mean, there's no other way. This dimension is a good version of hell. So, and we find out that Ricky, he says something like, Ricky remembers your name longer than he remembered his own name. Like he
Yeah,
always thought about you. And she's like, what do you mean? So
pretty dark.
mere seconds in our world could be like days for them. So he had been down there for like 60 years or whatever, and it was only a night for us.
Yeah,
So he says, he he'll be long dead before anyone misses them. Like these are people, this is why we chose them, because we knew no one's going to miss them at the end of the day. Even if they do, they'll be so long gone by the time anybody goes to look for them that it doesn't matter.
yeah,
And he says, that's why we chose them. And she says, you didn't choose me. And he's like, I may not have chose you, but I know who you are. I know you're so, what did he say, pathetically determined to run away whenever it's used to, or just to disappear. Like, and he calls her out on it, because that's kind of true.
yeah.
And he's like, congratulations, you got your wish. You have disappeared. The guards, again, very intimidating, tells them whatever they were in their past life no longer matters. They're nothing here. They're no one. And then they line up and they ask the first kid, who are you? And he says, Aaron. And then he automatically gets killed because, no, you're no one. So then he goes down the list of them. Who are you? I'm no one. Who are you? I'm no one. I'm Spartacus. He gets to Buffy and she says, I'm Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And you are? And then, begins to kick some ass. And it is an epic fight, and a lot of which we see in the opening of season 3. Couple
definitely.
of those
It's replayed in lots of the titles. And literally when I watched it again, I noted that the fights, when we start into season 3 from here,
so epic.
The whole choreography changes, the splits, the amount of different weapons,
how
the amount
many
of
people are involved in this dance.
Yeah, it totally changes from the first 2 seasons when we get to season 3. Like the whole fight thing is just, I need to look more as well as we go on, but I feel there's a lot of more choreography. I feel they changed a lot of the cut shots where you can't tell as much the stunt people in between the actors as well. Yes. That seems to have...
That got a lot better. The wigs got better. If they're even using wigs, they got better stuff. Because
it all got better.
I mean, I remember one of the first fights with Angel and Buffy, and the in the pinball with the twins, the vampire twins. Yes. Like it was so achingly bad.
Very obvious.
Now you can't even decipher.
Yeah,
you gotta look real hard.
I actually rewound it a little bit this time. I went back again because I was like, you can't see the cut.
Can't even see it.
Yeah, it's the fights really step up when we come into 3. The fight is amazing in this, I must be honest.
Yeah, and I love that she's taken on all the soldiers, and Ken says, humans don't fight back. And he's like super confused, like, what's happening here? It is a great fight scene. Stunt work is incredible, I noted. Basically, Buffy's like, anybody not having fun, follow me. And she tells Lily, get the people out of here. I'll take care of them. And she's like, you're leaving me? And she's like, you can handle this because I say you can. Like, and it was a good moment. She tells her, because I said so, you can do this. Ken grabs Lily because she's helping people escape, and that is not permitted. And he's got the knife to her throat. He's like, you can't fight. This is not permitted. She's like, yeah, but it was fun. Like, you got to give me that. And then he says, let everyone know that anybody that fights back, that this is the price of rebellion. And he's going to cut Lily's throat. And she ends up like punching him or elbowing him or something, and then shoves him off,
which is amazing.
Yeah, second story ledge there. And he just, boom. And it was great because she could do it, and she was doing it, and it was amazing. And they get up. Buffy lifts this gate with her super Buffy strength, and I love because she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna feel this tomorrow. Oh, this is the
feel
this is the hammies."
It's correct.
She's just because she has gotten in fantastic shape, as we talked about before, that they had to make her slow down some. So as she gets them all out, she's about to go through. Ken lunges at her and pushes her through the gate, but he gets caught. Like his legs get. It was actually a pretty sick moment. That
it is actually a pretty cool moment. And again, the effects this season. Yeah, again, even though we have some issues later on, the effect, the practicals though do actually like step up as well this season. As I say, with the masks in this, the blood with the impaling with the gate to the back of the legs, it
Yep.
actually looked really convincing.
Yeah. I mean, they really, season 3 was a good shine for them moment. And then season 4, when we get into Hush, is some of my favorite. But again,
Yeah,
jumping around.
we start to get even more when we get further. Well, let's not
It gets
shoot our
dark.
load yet.
Yeah, we don't want to jump. We're still excited about starting season 3.
Yeah.
So, basically, here's Ken. She says, "Hey, Ken, want to see my impression of Gandhi?" And then just starts beating his head
It's
in
a
with that
great line.
sledgehammer. And Lily's like, "Gandhi?" And she's like, "Well, if he was really pissed off."
Yeah, exactly. It is a good line.
And they climb back through the icky portal, and they're like, "What do we?" And then the portal closes up. So obviously, they don't have to do anything about that. We see Buffy has decided to just give Lily her life, her job at the diner. She's already spoken to her boss. Her rent's already paid up for 3 weeks. And she even gives her her uniform, basically the clothes off her back. And so Lily asks, "Can I be Anne?" And so she even gives her her name, which is kind of sweet because we will meet Anne later in
Yes, we meet
Angel
Anne again.
in the spinoff. So
Yeah.
Buffy, so back at home, Joyce like running goes to open the door, and there's Buffy standing there, and it is a beautiful scene, and they just hug. And that is the end of season 3, episode 1.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, I love this episode. I must admit, it's never been one of my favourites. For me, I don't know if it was because we were in LA. I don't know whether it felt a bit.
well, it took
For
the
me.
charm. You don't have your charm of Sunnydale.
Yes,
And
I feel at the time as well when I was watching it, I was so invested in their story.
Mhm.
It kind of was a throwaway a little bit
Plus,
for me.
her running away to live this life just feels wrong as you see her
For
friends.
Buffy, it feels very wrong. You know, she's always the big with the responsibility.
Right.
You know. What I would say is, again, this was one of those episodes where you got a lot of good dialogue, a lot of good quips. The monsters were great. Both writer and director was Josh. Again,
I didn't even look that up, but yeah, I could tell by the
yeah.
clip.
Again, that was him. The song that we talked about was "Belly Love," "Back to Freedom."
They were nice. I've never heard them before. Well, other than on the show the last time I saw
Yeah,
it.
I've never heard it. It's quite a. It's one of those songs like you said, like we came across where it's like it's quite moving and yeah, it sets the tone. It sets the tone.
Yup.
Other than that, a little things that I've got here are the third season had a glowing write up in TV Guide. Like before that, nobody really cared. But it was the first time in TV Guide that like they were like, season 3, come and see this. And if you remember, the times have been changed at this point because it used to clash with Ally McBeal in America. It didn't for us.
Okay.
And they changed it up.
Remember this.
People were apparently in America were going crazy because they were like, we have to choose. This was the times before TiVo, and which was we all thing, and we had things like Sky Plus and things like that, where you could record and watch something at the same time, or you could, but not everybody had it. You know, it was that kind of thing.
You could
People
in
were
the
having
90s,
to choose
but it was just
what
a
prime time they could watch.
Exactly.
And apparently, this kind of swayed it from season 3. And that's kind of all I've got on this. I do have a little thing, which is nothing to do with this, but I thought I'll chuck it at the end of this episode quickly. I think you probably know, I don't know if anybody else who's watching or listens would know, that most of the characters, apart from Sarah Michelle Gellar, actually tried out for their parts or for other parts and were put in different parts. I was not aware until I found a little fact this week that originally, one of the people that tried out for Xander was Ryan Reynolds.
Really?
Really? I only found it out yesterday. I've tried to look a little bit online. It was on something I watched virally. I checked it up a little bit. There's a couple of things saying it. There's nothing solid, but yeah, it looks like he auditioned for Xander originally.
And I think Cordelia auditioned for Buffy.
For Buffy, she did, and so did Harmony. She actually auditioned for Buffy also.
And
And Buffy
weirdly,
didn't
so
audition for anything.
just to go
So
on a tangent here with Ryan Reynolds connections, I don't know if you guys got this in the UK or not, but my friend uh, just brought this up. Uh, Layla Gilmore, she was talking about a show that I loved back in the day called Two Guys, a Girl, and a
Girl
Pizza.
in a Pizza Place. That was
And
the
then they
first
just
place
shortened
I
it to
ever saw Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
Or knew
It
who he was,
it was
or
not
went,
the first place I saw him because he was on a Canadian daytime soap opera. I'm not even kidding you. I think it was called 13 or 14, something like that. I have to look it up. I look it
oh
up
no,
every
I don't know
time.
that one. But it was the first sort of kind of time I ever saw who he was that, and we
But
were getting reruns from you.
yeah, so he played like a drummer kid. Anyway, so I had watched that show when I was a teenager, and then so I
Yeah.
recognized him. But it is the first time I ever saw Nathan Fillion in anything.
Right, I don't even remember. It's
He
been so
played
long since I
the
watched
girl's
something.
boyfriend, Johnny, I think, and he would like
Yes,
rollerblade.
no, that sounds about familiar
Yeah,
to me.
so
Yeah, that's
complete
crazy.
tangent, but I love that it all
No,
connects.
no,
That
that's
Ryan
great. We
Reynolds
love a
and
tangent. We love a
Mhm.
tangent at once more with Abby and Claire, as we know. Clint, he put a comment in about Gandhi. I saw an angry Gandhi on Supernatural. Those
I saw that
fruitarians can be
episode. That
bloodthirsty.
was the Wax Museum episode, I think, where Gandhi's like, "Are you supposed to be peaceful?" And he's trying to kill him. That was hysterical.
Excellent. But yeah, that's kind of where I am with that one this week.
Okay, so let's wrap up season one.
Yep.
Season 3, episode 1. If anybody has any comments or questions about it, just put
Yep.
them in there,
Please
and
ask.
we will get back to you. So let's go on to season 3, episode 2, called Dead Man's Party. So we opened Buffy's in a room. You could tell she just feels out of place. Like this, she's changed so drastically, emotionally, mentally. She walks in, Joyce is hanging this ugly ass mask on the wall, which I freaking love because I love ugly ass masks.
Yeah, same.
And Joyce is like, Nigerian, do you like it? We got a shipment of like all this cool artifacts from the gallery, and I thought I'd hang some of them in the house here. And I'm thinking, is that legal? But whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
And Buffy's like, are you okay if I go out with Xander and Willow and Joyce? Will you be slaying?
Yeah.
They're a little awkward. They're trying to get back into some mother-daughter groove. And so Buffy is walking and she hears a noise and she goes in the alley because, Sunnydale, and she sees Xander patrolling. And we hear somebody like, okay, Nighthawk. And then Buffy makes a noise or steps on a can or something, which had to be on purpose because she's not like that. And
No.
Xander like gets all scared, and then a vampire knocks them both down. And
it's pretty funny.
Yeah, just she's like, "Come in, Nighthawk. Are you there, Nighthawk? Is everything okay, Nighthawk?" And I'm cracking up.
Funny.
So the Scoobies are all fighting this vampire, and Buffy just steps in and slays him. And oh, you're back, okay. And so then they all decide to go tell Giles that she's back. They show up at his place, and Buffy is really nervous that he's going to be mad at her. That she's afraid to face him. I mean, he got tortured badly. So they open the door, and it's sweet. It's kind of like this. You could tell he's so.
I love Giles's house.
I love his house. I love his house.
It's gorgeous.
You could tell that he's struggling emotionally, Giles. They're all talking. He tells her she's going to have to talk to Snyder because, like, she's still expelled. Like, they tell her she's not wanted for murder anymore. They don't explain why, but she's not. No. Which is, all the good. But she's still been kicked out of school. And if you want to, you're going to have to talk to Snyder. So her and Joyce go talk to Snyder the next morning, and he tells her he's so smug. I mean, he's so good at what he does, but I want to punch him in his face.
Snyder's just abhorrent in this episode.
I will never let you back in this school. He's like, and I do it with glee. He's like, I get a little tingle when I talk about it. He tells her, well, Hot Dog on a Stick is hiring. And Joyce basically storms off and says, I'll go to the mayor. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to see, because we all know the mayor is, they're all
Again,
working
with the
together.
tidbits, it's mentioned a couple of times again in this episode, and it's going to become clear very, very soon why they keep mentioning him.
Why they keep the mayor will be coming up probably next week, actually.
I think it's next week is the first kind of bit we see.
Yeah. So Buffy had made plans with Willow to meet up after that, and she's waiting, and Willow completely stood her up. So Buffy is walking home. I don't know how she walked that long in those heels, but you could see she's totally dejected
Super
at this
strength.
point. And this woman coming out of her house, who introduces her as Pat, and Pat is like every Karen that we've ever met. She played by Nancy Linehan.
Yeah.
She tells Buffy, I've been taking care of your mother since your little, since you left town, since your little situation.
Oh God, she's a boring.
Yeah, she is somebody that everybody has known that person.
Oh
that
God, definitely.
busybody,
Everyone.
Swipe and then slaps. It's
Yeah.
So, she goes inside. Joyce tells her, "Oh, how would you feel about the whole gang coming over for dinner?" And Buffy's like, I don't know. I would just kind of want to. And she's like, I hope you say yes, because I already invited them. So she invited the whole gang over for dinner. Buffy, go downstairs and get the good plates. And she's like, those are company plates. Willow and Xander and Giles are not company people. And she's like, nobody ever comes here. We're going to use the damn plates, which I appreciate, because you should always use the damn plates or don't have them. But that's my own point. Yeah. So she's in the basement getting the damn plates. She finds a picture of her and Willow and Xander at, happier times. And you can tell she feels so left out right now.
Yeah.
She genuinely feels disconnected. They've all come up with this groove over the summer. And then she also finds a dead cat as it drops on top of her. So they bury it in the backyard. Joyce is like, do you want to say any words or anything? And she's like, yeah, sorry you came to my house and died,
Yeah.
So they bury the cat in the backyard. And that night, the Nigerian mask that Joyce has the eyes start glowing red on the wall. And in the backyard, you see the area where they dug. The cat comes crawling out of the grave, kind of church style, which is a good scene. I don't know what they had to do with the cat. I get nervous when they use real animals, but it was a creepy scene. So, again, we have a dream sequence. We know instantly it's a dream sequence by the way it's filmed, but Buffy's walking through the empty school. Everything's empty. The courtyard's empty. The sun is shining. The only one out there is Angel again. And she tells him that she's afraid, and he says, you should be. And then she wakes up.
Yeah.
So, I do want to point out that Joyce called Snyder a nasty little horrible bigoted man. She says she's going to go speak to the superintendent of schools, and she's also looking at this private school, and Buffy's like, private school with uniforms and this and that, and she's like, look, and then Buffy's pissed because the school is also an all-girls school. And, then Joyce gets momish with the whole, where she can cut you. You had, you made bad decisions. And so, you have consequences you have to pay and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, maybe we should just tell Principal Snyder and the police that you're the Slayer. Don't you think that they would welcome having a superhero on their team? And obviously, we know that's not going to happen. Yeah. And as she's doing that, she's going to take the garbage out. She opens the door and that damn cat runs in again. And it looks like it's been dead, buried, and dug itself back out again and smells like it. So Giles shows up with a cage, somehow manages, welcome to the Hellmouth Petting Zoo, manages to get that cat in the cage. It is hissing and spitting and making such noises.
Pet Cemetery vibes.
Totally church vibes. He notices the mask on the wall and he's like, oh, nice, Nigerian. And then he tells, Buffy's like, I'll come with you. And he's like, no, spend time with your mother. But honestly, you're not allowed on school grounds. You can't come with me.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's just one more place where Buffy feels completely just alone and left out, even though she's back. He brings the Hell Beast to the library so they can figure out how it rose from the grave. It's adorable because Oz is completely enamored with this cat. He's like, I get nervous that his fingers are too close to it. He wants to name it Patches. Um, and they're talking about the dinner, and he's like, I have a question. He's like, I want to know, is this a gathering, a shindig, or a
It's
hootenanny?
a great one.
It's so great because if it's gathering, um, he explains that that's like brie with mellow song stylings. Shindig is less mellow song stylings, perhaps a large amount of malt beverage, and a hootenanny. Well, that's just a chuck full of hootin', just a little bit of nanny. And
Yeah,
I
it's
love my
adorable.
Ozisms.
Yeah, Oz is amazing.
Xander's being his usual dickhead self. He doesn't
Hmm.
understand why they have to go to dinner. Like, this is stupid. Willow, in her own, I think it comes from a good place because she just is, they're so awkward around each other. They don't know how to interact. They really are 16 years old. So,
Yeah,
you know, she asks Oz, you think the dingoes could play at the party? So Giles doesn't know if it's an appropriate place, although it would really make it a hootenanny at that point. But Willow talks him into it. Who doesn't love a party? This is welcoming her back.
yeah,
So, Buffy's setting the table. It's beautiful. It's fancy. The good dishes. She's dressed lovely. She looks nervous. She looks awkward. She looks out of place. The doorbell rings and it's our friend Pat again. And Joyce invited her to the party. Aren't we excited?
yeah,
And, they do that whole, how you holding up, dear, and doorbell rings and Buffy goes to open it and it's the band. Like, where should we set up? And she's like, the band. So then, we cut to this rager in the living room. They're officially in Hootenanny
yeah,
territory. Buffy is not happy. You can tell first of all, nobody in this house even knows who she is. They're like,
yeah,
yeah, some girl lives here. She went to rehab. Like,
yeah,
so it's not about her. There's like 50, 60 people in her house and she's completely alone. And she tries to get Willow, like pulls her aside and asks, are we okay? Like, is everything okay? Because, you've been avoiding me. And she's like, and then, you see the Nigerian mask is glowing dead again. And outside on the streets, there was a bad accident. They pronounced this gentleman dead. There's the hospital with the burn victim. They pronounce him dead. The eyes start glowing. The dead start to rise. Um, Buffy is this is the weird dichotomy. Willow is so confident and Buffy is so awkward, and it's such a
yeah.
switch character.
It's total switch.
She Joyce and Pat are drinking. Buffy overhears them talking, and Joyce says, as much as I want Buffy home, in some ways it's almost worse. So that just seals it for her. She goes up to her room. She starts
Yep.
to pack a bag. Like, she is just her best friend, her mom, all these people, like everything's wrong. So Giles is still at the library. He hasn't shown up to the party yet. As he's flipping through his book, he finally realizes what the Nigerian mask is and rushes as fast as he can. He tries calling Buffy's house, but they
It gets Stoner 1 and Stoner 2 is just what all they're mentioned as cast
party.
lists.
Oh, they
Stoner
literally
1
have
and
that
Stoner
mentioned.
2. That is actually
Party
what it's.
Villa, can I help
Yeah.
you? So yeah, some rando picks up the phone, Stoner 1 and Stoner 2. Basically ends up hanging up on Giles. So, you got the wrong house, Mr. Belvedere, and like hangs up on him, which I thought was hysterical. So he is rushing as fast as he can to get there in person. Willow walks in Buffy's room and catches her packing a bag, and that just seals it for her. She snaps. And Buffy's like, why are you attacking me? And they both have all this like pent up anger and aggression.
Yeah.
And she tells her, she's like, I'm trying. And she's like, really? Because it looks like you're giving up. And I mean, they're just, you want to talk about those daggers from her. And then Joyce come. It's just, it's so awkward. But they're working it out. They finally kind of get to the crux of it. Giles is racing to Buffy's house. Do you like my mask? Isn't it nice? It's Nigerian. He's like,
That is
God damn,
such a
it
fun
just
line.
raises the dead.
So
American.
fun.
And then he hits a person in the road because he gets out to see if they're all right and realizes that this person was dead long before he hit him with his car. And we jump back to Willow and Buffy trying to work it out. And then Joyce walks in, sees the bag, and now Joyce freaks out. You can't come and go anytime you want to. This is bullshit. And they're both attacking her. And she goes to run out of the house. And then Joyce freaks out on her in the middle of the party. Like everything goes silent.
Oh, it's horrid.
Just screaming at her, and everyone starts shuffling out of the house. And then Xander is in uber dick mode, starts in on her like, you have no idea what Joyce went through and what we went through and what she's feeling. And Buffy, you could see it's killing her because they have never asked her what she's feeling either.
It's kind of a prophecy yet again as well for later on.
And then
it feels very much like another episode.
Exactly. Yeah. And this will come back many times.
Yeah.
Where they think, even many episodes later where, like at the musical episode, where they learned things that they never thought to ask before. Yeah. So again, everybody goes at this with the best interest at heart, but they're hurt and they're teenagers and they're obnoxious. So Giles manages to break away from the Legion of the Dead, gets back to his car to realize that the keys are now in the street where he dropped them after being attacked by the gentleman. So dead dude punches. These dead people are very aggressive, punching through the windshield, and Giles, in pure Ripper style, hotwires the car.
Actually, exactly what I said yet again. Why didn't we get the Ripper series in that second?
I hope it'll happen one day. I'm hoping with the renewal of Buffy, with the new podcast and everything.
The audio, I'm looking forward to that.
Because we could choose who we want to play him. Like, it's so, I can, in my head I have a perfect picture. I don't know who the actor is yet, but it'll happen.
Yeah.
So he hotwires the car and he is on his way. Xander and Buffy are getting very nasty with each other, and you can tell
it's a fight. It's a fight, definitely.
She's like 2 seconds away from knocking him out. So then Oz has to intervene and be referee guy because, and Willow's like, why? She's like, talking about it didn't work. Maybe violence will help. And like that moment, the undead's busting through the house. She's like, I didn't mean it. I was being sarcastic. So the undead are cranky. They're killing everyone in sight. The students that are left are just, getting killed. And Scoobies go into fight mode, and they have really improved in the summer.
Oh, definitely. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah, they are trying to barricade the doors. They're trying to throw the undead out. One of them grabs Pat and drags her off. Undead bust through the door, so they all take off to run for cover. I think they're in Joyce's room, and she sees, on their way to the room, she sees Pat laying in the hallway, and they grab her and they pull her into the room, and oh my God, I think she's dead. And there is a scuffle, and the mask gets knocked off the wall, but it is glowing like crazy, and you see then Pat wake up, and Giles shows up, and Cordelia asks, or no, it wasn't Cordelia. Xander asks him, like, how do we know you're not a zombie? Oh no, it was Cordelia. And he says, Cordelia, could you not be so tiresome? And she's like, oh, it's him.
Yeah, definitely. Again, great line.
They're so into their part. So Giles tells him that the mask holds the power of the zombie demon called Ovu Mubani, which means evil eye. And he tells them that if one of the zombies puts on the mask, that they're basically going to become that demon incarnate. So at this point, we see Pat get the mask and put it on because, of course. So she does kind of morph into this cool demon lady. And as soon as she does, all the other zombies are like freaked out. And Xander says to Joyce, when the scary things are afraid, you should probably be afraid. That's not good.
Yeah, great line again.
And it's this whole, I live, you die. The lights flash. She stuns Buffy with her glance. So when she looks at you, and it's just for like a second, and then Pat grabs Willow and Buffy charges her, and because she stuns Willow, and Buffy like takes her out, and they both fly out the window. And Giles tells Oz, like, tell Buffy she's got to go for the eyes, but I don't even think that he gets that far.
No.
Pat, she grabs a shovel and shoves it in her face, like in her eye holes, and takes out her eyes. So Pat just disappears. They're all in what's left of Joyce's living room, and they all hug. They have their moments. So that was kind of nice. Giles, I fucking love Giles, goes to see Snyder.
This is beautiful. And again, why haven't we had the Ripper series?
I know, seriously. We need to write a letter, you and I.
Yeah, we need to write a strongly worded letter to the people that matter.
Strongly worded letter. So he basically tells Snyder, you can't keep her out of this school. She is a student. She was not guilty. They cleared her, and it's a public school, and she deserves an education. And Snyder's like, not only can I, but I am excited about it, and I'm getting
he loves it tonight.
And Giles basically shoves him up against the wall, and he tells him that what does he say? He says, would you take it up with the city council? Giles says, I thought I'd start with the state Supreme Court. Tell him basically I can make your professional life very, very difficult, professionally speaking, as he's got him jacked up against the wall. So Buffy will be allowed back in school. And, well, Snyder wasn't convinced. So when Giles pushes him against the file cabinet and he asks him, would you like me to convince you? Like and
it's beautiful.
So hot.
It's the smile that he does it with on his face.
Yeah.
It's pure evil. And I love it. I wish
but
Ripper.
It's them having her back, which is where she didn't feel before. So we cut to, Buffy and Willow having coffee, which is all they really wanted to do. And Willow's basically filling her in on her life. She's got a boyfriend. She's got a serious boyfriend. She's been dabbling in witchcraft. She's done some pagan blessings. Like, she did a tiny glimmer to hide a zit once. She does tell her that she really wasn't ready for all that, like, uber black magic stuff she got into. Foreshadow. I even blew out the power on the whole block. She's, it was a big scare for her.
Progression. So, as you said, this summer, from going from that episode to this, in the first two, everything's changed.
Yeah, and it happens to all of us every, 6 to 8 years or so. We change drastically. But it's nice that they've agreed to work on things. But I do love the end where she's just like, quitter, and she's like, witch, and she's like, and then she's like, slut, and Willow's like, like her. What is she?
It's cute,
slut, but it's adorable. Nice. They were just jabbing each other, but it was at love, and I know it comes eventually, but they still don't know that Angel was cured before Buffy had to kill them. So Buffy's still holding on to that till like another episode or two, which we'll
and again foreshadowing for things that nobody else knows.
Yep.
As we've always kind of had.
And so that was the end of this episode. What do you got for me?
Right. So I've got a couple of things. In the party scene, when the very last push of the zombies are attacking everyone.
Jonathan? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, that's the first one. Jonathan with the dip. Little cameos from Jonathan. I can't wait till he comes into his own, foreshadowing. But wow, little Jonathan with his dip. Awesome. Also, did you notice, you may be able to help me with which episode this is, because I literally found this out not that long ago today and was on something else. One of the zombies is, do you remember the football jock guy? Is it Daryl from, I think, season...
Where they built him as a that was season 2. Yeah, that was, oh crap, I can tell you what episode that is.
I should have been not as lazy and was doing something else after I found that little tidbit earlier. But yeah, definitely, I saw it. There was Daryl in one of the zombies in the last push in the party. And the last thing, I think it's when they're attacking Cordelia and Oz.
Yes. Okay.
And I'm sure, I can't find a reference yet, haven't looked properly, but definitely in my eyes, it was Daryl.
No, I would tend to agree with you because that doesn't surprise me. They
It's like he's got the black and the orange striped jersey on that he had the way through from when he died in the whole of in the other episode.
why can't I find?
I'm not sure
I
of the
remember
episode.
it very
We
well.
can find it and put it in comments when we re-upload.
Yeah.
That's no wish. But yeah, it was just a little thing I noticed, and I was like, wow. But as you say, it doesn't kind of surprise us because they do this all the time.
Yeah, they reuse actors. They'll bring in these little Easter eggs for people. You know, when we first
And there's
meet,
so many. Even I found one after watching these a billion times.
yeah, we again, this will be jumping. I'm not really giving anything away, but when we meet a character, Andrew, later, we find out we had met his brother in an earlier episode.
We do shout out to that guy. I think we're both friends on him with him on Facebook.
Who,
Tucker's
Andrew?
brother. No,
Oh,
Tucker's brother.
Maybe.
He's been on Hammersville
Why am I blanking on his name?
because
Oh.
he was Leatherface as well. Hang on. I'm awful because I know this gentleman and I'm being. Hang on, give me a second. Give me a sec. Oh, is Clint still listening? He'll know me. Clint, are you there? Hang on. What's his name? Oh God.
Tucker Wells.
Yeah.
Hello.
Tucker Wells.
He
He's
was
that guy.
all right, portrayed by Brad Kane. He is not. I don't
It's
know.
Bradley something.
Really? Maybe. Cool.
It is. He's been on Hammersville. Brett Wagner. Brett Wagner.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes.
He
I
was
never put
Tucker
that-
Wells.
Wow. Okay. I never put that together.
Honestly, he was.
That's
I
cool.
guarantee you because Hammersville did an interview with him because of his Leatherface stuff. Thank you, Clint.
Thank you, Clint.
Because we're useless.
I know. You would think we'd research such things.
Yeah, we think
But
we look
sometimes,
these
like, I don't
things,
even
don't we?
remember.
Considering I'm friends with him on Facebook.
Like, I make these notes as I'm watching to kind of like spark my.
I'm terrible at the minute, honestly. I'm terrible. So music this week obviously was All Dingoes Ate My Baby, which were obviously by Four Star Mary, which is the band that they mime to or are portraying as their own band. The songs were Nevermind, Sway and Pain.
They're so good
this week. And that was about it, really. There was one thing that with Buffy's dreams and the foreshadowing kind of things that are happening now, we find this is a big theme. And I meant to say this at the end of the last for episode 1. Did you not think it seemed like Joyce knew she was coming home and she was at the door?
It was what made her open the door at that exact moment, you know.
And the way she stood and kind of was like she knew. We get a lot of this as we go on, you know.
Yeah.
It's like there's plenty of times it happens with Buffy, Faith, Joyce, Willow, where there's kind of foreshadowing moments, as we've always said. The way the stories were always so well put together.
Right. Yes.
And I feel the turning point is for season 3 and these 2 episodes as we go on with like that kind of thing.
I agree.
I
love it. It makes me happy. Those little, you know.
I love that, you know, and I think as a fan, we all love those little twists and turns, as you say, like we find out about Andrew's brother and the fact we've met him again. You know, we've already known that person.
We talk about Jonathan a lot when we go back. We
know
him from later. Jonathan. The first time you go back and watch them, and you're like, how many times is he? And there's one episode in particular that was the first time I think I really picked him out as his own person, was the episode that they did not air in the United States in order.
Yes, I was coming to that. We're coming up to that, not far away.
It'll be soon, yeah. But there
and it wasn't
right after Columbine.
Yeah, which is obviously why, for obvious reasons.
Oh, totally made sense. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it totally made sense. I do think it was aired here, but later. A lot later.
It was aired here as well, but again, it was out of order.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll look up before we get to that.
It's at the end of season. Yeah, it's the end of season 3. It's called Earshot, which we'll get to in a couple weeks. But so next week we have We have 2 very good episodes.
Oh, yes, we do.
Next week we have Faith, Hope, and Trick.
And
We get
Trick.
introduced to Mr. Trick and to Hope and to Faith.
Oh,
We have a new Slayer, which, as we remember, Kendra was called because Buffy briefly died. Well, now Kendra is dead, and
and of course, another is called.
Yep, another Slayer is called, and then we have episode 4 called Beauty and the Beasts. So,
It's an absolute
which
beautiful
is,
episode.
I love that episode. I really do. I'm trying to. Well, we'll talk about it when we get to it. But the girl that plays the third party, I love that whole. But anywho, so that is all I have for this week.
Yeah, same. That's about where I am. Looking forward to as we go into 3. I feel we're now in that good territory of a character arc and a story arc yet again.
Things change.
Where it's all going to change. Even though it's changed a lot in this little break they had for summer when she went off and found herself and all the rest of it. I do feel it's like we're coming into this arc again of characters, it's storyline. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
Me too. All right, love.
Shout outs this week.
Please.
I've got this one, my new sexy hoodie. If you can see, it says Slutty Pumpkin.
I love that.
And it has a little face on the back. I can't see them in the right place.
Oh, you're good. Boo. That's adorable. And the little pumpkin face.
I love it. Shout out to my friend Johnny Gavin. He has a page where he makes this kind of thing. I will put the link in Instagram to his page where you can buy custom-made hoodies from him, which are awesome. This was made for me, obviously. I don't think this is a standard, but he does lots of different things. So hit him up if you want anything doing. Anything. You can put anything on anything. And they're really good quality hoodies as well. They're nice and soft inside. Which I like. Sometimes you buy them and they're like really thin. This has actually got some weight to it and it's warm. So that's good. Ready for the winter coming. So what else have we got for shout outs this week? We have Hamiltonville Horror Podcast, Clinton Don. Thank you so much to them and our Hamiltonville family. Thank you to Perfect Earth Podcast, who are always supporting us and always there for us. We love them. All links will be in description. Scream Until You Like It. Horror movies of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
My goodness.
Paul and Adam. Anybody we've missed?
Well, we love you. How's that?
Richard Patrick Bacon, my husband, who helps us technically every single week.
Bacon, my favorite. Love that dude.
And anybody who watches.
Yes. Do the thing that we like, where you subscribe and share and talk to us.
We like
things. Really like.
We share, we subscribe, and we press the little notification bell at the top.
Yes. So that is it. All right, my loves. Well, you have just the most fantastic day. Thank you for making my day better. I am going bowling now. Wish me luck.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Bye.
All right. We love you.
Love you.
Bye.